Hey everybody, here are 3 great meals that you can have in your pantry for long-term storage, and I'm sharing single serving recipes because that's important too. We're also going to talk about shelf life of these that far exceeds canned goods. And this is part of the emergency collaboration hosted by Natasha at the Budget Preppers. There are prizes, including the freeze-dried foods I use to make these meals, and that's all in the description box down below. So be sure to check that out, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to be making is sour cream mashed potatoes with pulled pork gravy, and this one's pretty easy. What you see here is 1 cup of the Thrive Life pulled pork. I've also put a cup in this bag, which is a quart size Mylar bag. Now I'm doing single servings, so I just have a half a cup in this bag, thinking more like 1-person meal. It's important to have 1-person meals. If you were in a situation where you did not have electricity, you don't want to have a lot of food left over that you have to store. So that's kind of the thought process behind this. So the ingredients that you need are, I have some of the freeze-dried gravy here from Thrive Life, and you can see shelf life on this, 10 years. And for the pulled pork, freeze-dried at optimal storage conditions, shelf life 25 years for that pulled pork. Now, some of these things, and you want to keep this in mind when you're storing stuff, the mashed potatoes that I used, shelf life 5 years. And lastly, the sour cream powder that I used, shelf life 10 years. So you kind of want to make a note on that when you fix your labels and your instructions for these. All right, so we start out again, cup of the pulled pork. This is seasoned, cooked, and then freeze-dried, just so you know. And here we have 1 1/4 cups of the mashed potatoes and 2 tablespoons of sour cream powder. For your single serving, we have half of each. So 3/4 cup the mashed potatoes and 1 tablespoon, right? Cut everything in half. In these little bags here, I have the gravy, and according to the instructions, you usually use 1/3 of a cup. So I've got 2/3 of a cup in here for these 2, and then just 1/3 of a cup here. Again, thinking smaller serving size. And if you don't have the gravy, you could use gravy packages. A 1/3 a cup would be equivalent to like 1 package of your gravy that you buy at the store. This is all you need. I'm going to go ahead and get these put into the containers, and I'll be back with you. Three meals ready to go right here. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the next meal. A little tip for you. If you're doing a bunch of meals at one time, like I am, and then sealing them at the end, make a little note on the bottom as to what they are so you don't confuse them later. It makes things easier. All right, moving on. All right, this next one is another easy one. What we're doing is we're making single serving chicken noodle soup, because this is something you should always have on hand for when someone's not feeling well. It's going to be like a single serve kind of thing. And we've got right here 3/4 a cup of linguine noodles, just kind of broken up, and then a 1/4 cup of diced freeze-dried chicken. And that freeze-dried chicken, again, it's a Thrive Life product, and you can see 25-year shelf life for this. So we're doing a 1/4 cup of this. It's pre-cooked, seasoned, and then freeze-dried. I've also got the same in each one of these pint-size bags. And I'm going to add in here some seasonings. Now what I have here is 1 1/4 tablespoons of chicken bouillon. I like caldo de pollo. See if y'all can see that. And then I've also added in a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme and a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. Not only will they help the flavor, but they're also good for you when you're sick. So I'm going to get these sealed up, and then we'll go ahead and put these into the jar and the bags. And this will be all done. I'll just need to get my oxygen absorbers in and get them sealed. And I'm going to make a lot more of this than what you see here. I want to have, and I suggest everybody have, a lot of chicken soup on the shelf for the situations where maybe somebody's sick. All right, next up, stuffed bell peppers in a jar. I've got a cup of rice here, and I also have 1/4 of a cup of the diced seasoned beef. I've got 1/4 a cup of bell peppers, and to that, I'm going to add in a 1/4 a cup of onions. Now we're going to put some seasonings in here. I'm going to fill up these bags also, and I'll be back with you. All right, for seasonings, I'm going to be adding 1 of these bouillon cubes to each bag. And then I'm also adding in a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then we'll just plop these in. I do want to point out, you could see, I used brown rice for the one that I have in the jar. This is probably going to be an emergency meal for a busy work week when my husband's hungry, maybe I'm not so much, and he can just eat something real quick. And I want to talk about shelf life. So for the instant brown rice, this is a shelf life optimal for 7 years. So keep that in mind, because your white rice has an optimal shelf life of 30 years. So for the meals that I'm going to put in the bags, I'm going to use the white rice, and I'm going to make sure that I label my bags accordingly to the ingredients that are in there for how long the meal is going to be good for. For that diced beef that I use, 25-year shelf life. Also for the onions as well as the bell peppers, 25-year shelf life. Keep those things in mind when you're getting all of your ingredients together and you label your bags. Make sure you label them so that you know how long they're good for. I love this little vacuum sealer. It's so much easier than breaking out the big vacuum sealer to seal up all these jars. Highly recommend it. All right, now I still need to get my oxygen absorber in here. And I did want to point something out. When you're using pint-sized bags, you need to have an oxygen absorber that's at least 100 cc's. When you're using a quart-size bag, like the bigger bags, you need to make sure you're using at least a 300 cc oxygen absorber. So I don't have 100 cc's. It's okay to use a larger size oxygen absorber. It's not okay to use a smaller size oxygen absorber. So just kind of putting that out there. Also, another note on the chicken soup. I don't have freeze-dried chicken broth. That would have been so ideal. I'm going to order some of that. So I'm not going to make as many of these offhand that I thought I would, because I really want to get the freeze-dried chicken broth to add to this, because then that really makes it healthy, right? So kind of calling that out there. But otherwise, I'm super happy with the new meals that I've got in the long-term food storage, as well as emergency immediate use food storage. And I hope you all enjoyed this. So I'm going to get these labeled up and I'll show you what it looks like. A question that came up from my last video is, where did I get these bags? I got them on Amazon, and also the size. The interior size of these is 3.1 inches by 3.9 inches. And I find they're able to hold anything up to about maybe a little more than a 1/4 cup could fit in here. Nothing beyond 1/3 of a cup. All right, so now you see me adding my oxygen absorbers. I'm sealing it up, and also that noise, those are my oxygen absorbers. I'm using that vacuum sealer in the jar. And then I've got my hair straightener here, sealing up all those bags, and there you have it. I've got, I think I did like 12 meals total. And again, a lot of these are single serve. I did a lot extra of the chicken noodle, which is super important to have single servings. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to go check out the other content creators. So much great information on emergency preparedness with this collaboration. And don't forget, there's prizes. Thank you so much, you all, and I hope to see you on the next one. And until then, remember everyone, keep your joy.